English conversations are made up of 5 simple elements. These elements will transform your English fluency. They are opinions, reasons, personal experiences, details, and examples. And in today's lesson, I'm going to teach you how to master each of the 5 elements. Are you ready? Well then, I'm teacher Tiffani. Let's jump right in. Element number 1, opinions. Opinions are personal viewpoints, beliefs, or judgments about a topic that may not be universally agreed upon. So, this is the part of a conversation where you share your idea, your thought, your opinion. But why is it so important to understand this first element? Here's the first reason. Expressing opinions helps you engage in meaningful discussions rather than just exchanging basic information. When you are trying to speak English fluently, you want to be able to give your thoughts, your ideas, or your opinions. The second reason why this first element is so important is sharing opinions allows you as the individual to express your personality and build deeper connections with others. This is a very important element. And finally, understanding how to respectfully state your opinion is essential for navigating disagreements in English-speaking environments. So the first element of opinions is very, very important. So when do you use it? And then we're going to look at an example. When do you use this element? The first time is when you are asking or being asked directly for your thoughts on a topic. Someone might say, hey, what do you think about this? They are asking you to give your opinion. You can also use it when you are participating in discussions or debates. Remember, English fluency is about mastering the 5 elements. You can also use this element when you're evaluating options or making recommendations. So what does this actually look like in practice? Check out this example dialogue. These 2 individuals are having a conversation. Alex is the man's name and Jamie is the female's name. Alex starts the conversation off by saying, I think documentaries are much more interesting than action movies. I believe they give us a deeper understanding of the world and help us become more informed citizens. He started the conversation off by giving his opinion, but check out how Jamie responds. That's an interesting perspective, Alex. I can see why you'd value that educational aspect. However, in my opinion, action movies are more entertaining and provide a better escape from daily life. I feel that documentaries can sometimes be too slow and academic, especially after a long workday. Jamie was able to give her opinion very clearly, and she acknowledged that she understood Alex's opinion. But the conversation continued. Alex then responds by saying, I appreciate your point about needing an escape, Jamie. We all need that sometimes. But I still maintain that documentaries offer more lasting value. I consider them to be intellectually stimulating in a way that stays with you longer than the temporary thrill of action sequences. Jamie responds, I see what you mean about lasting impact, Alex. That's fair. Still, I hold the view that good entertainment has its own kind of value. I'm convinced that well-made action movies can develop creativity and imagination, particularly when they explore thought-provoking scenarios that make us question what's possible. These individuals only used the first element. Yes, you got it. Opinions. Excellent. They went back and forth in the conversation, giving their opinions. Element number 1. Then we have element number 2, reasons. Reasons are explanations, justifications, or logic supporting an opinion or decisions. So you have an opinion, but you have to support it with information. So why is it so important to use this element? Here's the first reason why reasons are important. Providing reasons makes your speech more persuasive and helps others understand your perspective. Remember, a conversation is about going back and forth. In order for it to go back and forth in a good way, you need to make sure the person understands what you're saying. Second reason, explaining your reasoning demonstrates critical thinking skills valued in English-speaking academic and professional settings. My friend, you are intelligent, and this element of English conversation helps you to show the other person how intelligent you are. The third reason is giving reasons creates more sophisticated and mature conversations beyond simple statements. So here's the question: when can you use this second element of English conversations? When can you use reasons? Here's the first time you can use it: after stating an opinion to support your viewpoint. We just heard the dialogue between Alex and Jamie where they gave their viewpoints, their opinions. In a conversation like that, you could add the second element, giving your reasons. You can also use it when you're explaining decisions or choices you've made. And finally, when trying to persuade someone, hey, you know this is the best dessert. Hey, you know this movie's really good. We should go watch it again. When you're trying to persuade someone, you can use the second element of English conversations, reasons. So check out this example dialogue. Let's say, for example, we have Sarah and Michael. Sarah starts off, I prefer to shop at local farmers markets because the produce is fresher and hasn't traveled so far. I also shop there because it supports small businesses in our community and helps maintain local farming traditions. She gave very good reasons for her opinion. Then we continue with Michael's response. I can definitely see the appeal of fresh local produce, Sarah. For me, though, I tend to shop at supermarkets because they're more convenient for my busy schedule. I also choose them because they often have lower prices for everyday items, which helps me stick to my monthly budget. Again, Michael used the second element of English conversations. He gave reasons for his opinions. Sarah responds, budget concerns are important, Michael. I agree. Despite the sometimes higher costs, I shop at farmers markets because I can talk directly to the people who grow the food. I find value in this because I learn about how my food is produced and make more informed choices about what I eat. Again, if we were actually listening to this conversation in real time, in person, it would be hard to pick a side because they're both giving good reasons. Listen to Michael's final response. You know, having that direct connection to food producers sounds meaningful, Sarah. That's something supermarkets can't offer. Still, I shop at supermarkets because they have consistent quality standards and regulations. I appreciate this because it gives me confidence in food safety, especially with products that might not be available locally. Both sides, they both used the second element of English conversations. They both gave strong reasons. It's a powerful element. What about the third element? The third element is personal experience. You see, personal experiences are events, situations, or circumstances that you have personally lived through or witnessed. This third element is powerful. Again, helping you speak English fluently using the 5 elements of English conversations. Why is it so important though? The first reason why personal experiences is so important is sharing personal experiences makes conversations more authentic and relatable. You enjoy hearing about their personal experiences, about how they were affected, about how they learned from the situation. The second reason why it's so important is Personal stories help illustrate complex ideas in concrete and memorable ways. Personal experiences are powerful. And finally, discussing your experiences improves narrative skills, which are highly valued in social and professional English contexts. We're talking about helping you speak English more fluently. So when can you use personal experiences? When can you use this third element of English conversation? So the first time you can use this element is to create connections by sharing relevant parts of your life. Connect with people. Let them in. Tell them more about yourself. The second time you can use it is to illustrate a point with a real life situation. When you're trying to kind of support your point by giving a real life situation. You can also use it when you want to give advice based on what you've learned firsthand. This is a powerful element. So let's see it actually in action. Imagine this situation between Lisa and Thomas. Lisa starts off by saying, "When I visited Japan last year, I was amazed by the efficiency of their public transportation system. Trains arrived exactly on time, down to the minute. I've also lived in New York where the subway runs 24 hours, but isn't always reliable." She's giving her thoughts by telling us more about her personal experience. Now, how does Thomas respond? Thomas says, Japan's punctuality is remarkable, isn't it? You know, I traveled there 2 years ago and was equally impressed. But what stood out to me was how polite everyone was, even in crowded Tokyo subway stations during rush hour. In contrast, I've spent time in rural areas where I had to rent a car because public transportation wasn't available at all. Now we have Thomas responding by also using the element of personal experience. So how will Lisa respond? Lisa says, "That rural experience must have been quite different. While in Tokyo, I experienced an earthquake for the first time, and I was impressed by how calmly everyone reacted and followed evacuation procedures. It was nothing like when I had to navigate New York during a major power outage where there was much more chaos." It's like they're transporting us back in time. It's like we're going with them and we're experiencing their life with them. This is the power of the third element of English conversations, personal experiences. And Thomas responds by saying, "The cultural difference in emergency responses is fascinating, Lisa. That reminds me of when I participated in a traditional tea ceremony in Kyoto, where I learned about the importance of mindfulness and being present. I've applied those principles when working as a tour guide in my hometown, which helped me notice details I'd previously overlooked." Lisa and Thomas just used the third element of English conversation. During this conversation, they weaved in all of their personal experiences. This is why it's so important to understand the 5 elements of English conversation. So what about the fourth element? The fourth element is detail. Detail, specific information, facts, descriptions, or characteristics that provide clarity and depth. This fourth element is very important. Why is it so important? Here's the first reason. Including details makes your communication clearer and prevents misunderstandings. The second reason why it's so important is detailed speech demonstrates a rich vocabulary and advanced language proficiency. You're able to give enough information to help the person listening to you understand. And the third reason is providing specific details makes your stories and explanations more engaging and memorable. This element of English conversations is very important. So when can you use this? You can use it when describing people, places, or things. Let's say, for example, someone says, hey, can you describe Teacher Tiffani? You can say, Teacher Tiffani, she teaches us English. She's very passionate. I am. She's very happy. I am. And she loves to help us speak English fluently. I do. You can also say, oh, she's wearing a turquoise blue shirt that says, let's jump right in. And you can describe my personality, my hair, my smile. This is what you can do using this element. All right? The second time, when giving instructions or directions, you can use this element. And finally, when clarifying information that might be misunderstood. So what does this look like, this element being used in a real conversation? Here we go. Imagine a conversation between two people, Emma and Noah. Emma starts off, the apartment we're looking at has 2 bedrooms with large windows facing east that let in beautiful morning light. The kitchen is newly renovated with stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, and an island with seating for 4 people. Emma! Listen, if Emma was in my class, she would have gotten an A. Why? Because she gave so many details. But in this conversation, we also have to hear how Noah responded. Noah responds, those east-facing windows sound perfect for morning coffee. What about the bathroom? I noticed it has a walk-in shower with glass doors and marble tiles. The living room is spacious with hardwood floors and a built-in bookcase along the north wall. Noah! Yes! Noah is utilizing the 4th element, giving lots of details as he describes the bathroom and the living room. Then we have Emma's response. Emma says, yes, the bathroom is quite luxurious. Did you also see the master bedroom? Features a walk-in closet with custom shelving and a ceiling fan with a remote control. The second bathroom is currently set up as a home office with high-speed internet connections and soundproofing panels. What are they doing? In this conversation, they're using the 4th element of English conversations. They're giving details. They're helping us even see and imagine what the apartment looks like. And finally, Noah responds, the home office setup would be perfect for our remote work needs. I was also impressed with the building amenities. Have you checked out the rooftop garden with raised beds for growing vegetables? The neighborhood location is convenient too, with 3 coffee shops within walking distance and a year-round farmers market. This is the perfect example dialogue to understand how to utilize the 4th element. Details. Makes sense, right? Now we have to jump into the 5th element. The 5th element is examples. Specific instances, illustrations, or cases that demonstrate or clarify a point. Now, why is this element so important? Here's the first reason why it's important to understand the element. Number 5 of examples. Using examples helps clarify abstract concepts and makes them easier to understand. It also helps you to demonstrate your ability to apply general principles to specific situations. And finally, this element is important because it helps you provide relevant examples which show your knowledge depth and makes your speech more convincing. Examples are powerful. So when can you use this element? You can use this element to support general statements with specific instances. You can also use it when you're comparing different situations. And finally, when you're demonstrating patterns or trends, you can use this 5th element of English conversations by giving examples. So what would an example dialogue look like? Here we go. Between David and Sophia, David starts off, many animals use camouflage for protection in the wild. For instance, chameleons change color to blend with their surroundings and avoid predators. Another example is the leaf insect, which looks exactly like a leaf with body parts that resemble leaf veins and edges. What is happening? David is giving examples and we're following along as we listen and read the conversation. Then Sophia responds, "Those animal adaptations are fascinating, David. In the business world, we see similar adaptive strategies. Some companies offer great work-life balance. For example, Google provides on-site childcare and flexible hours for parents. Another example is Patagonia, which encourages employees to take time off for outdoor activities." They are giving examples in this conversation. So David now is going to respond to Sophia. The Patagonia example reminds me of how nature and business can both develop specialized solutions. Certain plants have adapted to extreme environments, such as the barrel cactus, which stores water in its thick stem to survive desert conditions. Another fascinating example is the Venus flytrap, which catches insects to supplement its nutrition in poor soil. Notice how they're not just giving examples, they're acknowledging the person before them, right? They're acknowledging what the person said and then they're adding their examples. So how does Sophia respond? Sophia now says, "That's a perfect parallel to environmental adaptation in architecture, David. There are excellent examples of sustainable buildings, like the Edge in Amsterdam, which uses solar panels and rainwater collection. Another impressive example is the Bullitt Center in Seattle, which is designed to be net zero energy and process water much like those specialized plants you mentioned." What happened? They used element number 5. They gave examples. These 5 elements of English conversation are powerful. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and if you want to continue studying with me and mastering these 5 elements, you can join our family, our English family, by going to speakenglishwithtiffani.com/SELN. Once again, speakenglishwiththiffani.com/SELN. Each month, there is a new topic where I teach you and students around the world how to finally utilize the 5 elements and speak English fluently like a native English speaker. I'll talk to you in the next lesson. You still there? You know what time it is. It's story time. Hey, hey, hey. I said it's story time. All right. So I've mentioned this story before, and it's a short one, but it really makes me laugh and smile whenever I think about this situation. So this happened maybe about 2 years ago. My sister, maybe a year and a half, maybe. So my sister and brother-in-law purchased a dog. His name is Baron. Cute, cute. And he knows me very well because I've been around since he was a baby. So he's very familiar with everyone in our family. So my sister and brother-in-law were going to be going out of town. And so they said, "Hey, Tiff, can you watch Baron for the afternoon?" I said, "Sure, no problem." Now I live in an apartment and the apartment does allow animals. So I was like, it's okay. It's no problem. I'll keep him for one afternoon and one night. So I go pick him up from their house. Again, he knows me, so he's excited. He sits in the car, he's excited. And we get to my apartment, and he's been here before, but he's just kind of walking around and stuff, and he was fine. Now, that same afternoon, I also had an event to go to. So I brought him home, spent maybe about, maybe about an hour or so with him, and then I started getting ready for the event. I had to get some water. So I am putting my clothes on and everything. He's just kind of watching me, and I'm about to go to head out. And you know how dogs look at you, like they don't want you to go ever. He didn't bark. He just kind of looked at me longingly. And I was like, "Hey man, I'll be back in about 3 hours. So enjoy yourself here." So I close my apartment door, lock the door, and I see my neighbor. So I walk over to where my neighbor is standing by his door, and we're talking for maybe about 5 or 10 minutes. I hadn't seen him in a while. And all of a sudden, we heard this loud screaming and crying. And it sounded like a child, like maybe 2 or 3 year old, but it sounded like maybe they were getting in trouble. They were getting a spanking. Not that they were in any danger, but they were just crying. And so my neighbor and I were talking, and I said, man, whose child is that? That child is not happy at all. But we continued to talk. But the screaming and crying didn't end. So we both paused, and I listened. I said, where is it coming from? Now, my apartment was behind me, and I noticed that the sound was coming from behind me. So I said, hold on one second, to my neighbor, and I kind of stepped closer to my apartment, and the sound got louder. And I stepped closer to my apartment again, and the sound got even louder. I said, oh my goodness. What I thought was a crying child was actually the dog. He was like, that's the dog? I was like, what in the world? So I quickly opened my door because it was very loud, so it was disturbing everyone. So I opened my door, and as soon as I opened my door, the dog is at the door screaming, and then he looks at me and stops. And it's like he's smiling at me. And I said, you have got to be kidding me. You've been here crying like a child? Needless to say, I did not make it to the event. I did bust out laughing though, because how does a dog sound? I mean, literally, my neighbor and I both thought it was a child crying. Needless to say, that was the last time the dog stayed here. I said, I can't have my neighbors upset because the dog is loud. I can't have you crying whenever I have to run to the store or go to an event. So I just visit him at their house. And yeah, that is the story of a dog that sounded like a human. I'll talk to you in the next lesson.